possum with a gun to his head. He's threatening to stop playing dead, but I know there's truth in the words that he says. I should probably leave the suicidal rodents alone! A bee drowned in my hummingbird feeder one day. The birds told me that their food didn't taste that great. We all get a little lost in the...
Good old JD Danger to set the
Let's
mood.
go.
Welcome to the Mainline Show, everybody. Seth and Jonathan have been here, and also to listeners and viewers. We're doing a special episode, bringing back the On Your Radar series, where we cover some artists in the indie scene in Atlanta. And today, I'm really excited to have Seth from BAUMS or BOOMS or BAUMS. Listen to the full episode where we will set the record straight on how that's pronounced. And also Jonathan of Thalmus, not to be confused with Thalamus, as your phone will try to autocorrect every single time if you talk about it, as it's happened to me. Jonathan, I don't see you on the screen, though.
Oh.
Where'd your picture go? But would love to see your beautiful face.
I can see myself.
I cannot see you either.
You can't see me either?
No.
Okay.
No.
You have technical difficulties.
He's
It's just adding mystique to Thalmus.
I fear it's a bit. I don't think this is an accident.
Thalmus
I
is
feel
kind of like
like
a burial
would
thing.
do
We don't know his
this.
identity. Or like
Yeah.
Daft Punk. Yeah.
Knowing Jonathan and the diva,
now it's
the diva
the
that he
diva.
is.
Okay. How about now?
Behind the
Yeah.
scenes.
Yeah.
There
back.
he is, the Thalmus person.
Oh,
he's gone.
And he
Rip.
went away.
Now I can't hear anybody.
Oh no.
Oh, this is hilarious.
Oh no.
Okay.
So yeah,
This is all
Jonathan
very
being the-
intentional. Yeah, I can't hear
It's very
anything.
intentional.
Hold on.
You can't
I'll
hear.
be right back.
Amazing.
Do your thing. We're gonna talk
Oh,
with
boy.
BOOMS, Seth of BOOMS. Anyway, Thalmus is the project of Jonathan Merenivitch, who we've talked about on the show before, because he was also in Shepherds, which is a very important Atlanta band, which we talked about. Both of y'all played the Mainline Music Fest, and we are here specifically doing this episode now because there is a show coming up, a very special one, on December 5th at Star Bar. It's going to be the BAUMS EP release show, and Thalmus and another great local band, Trial Run, are joining in support. I had the pleasure of watching, when BAUMS was performing at Star Bar. So I'm sure you don't see this when you're on stage, but just a lot of people mouths agape, open and going like this, and just totally being wowed by your sets. I've seen that happen multiple times. That is the effect that y'all have on an audience. And Thalmus was very much the same way. So that's why I wanted to bring y'all together on the same bill. And me and one of our fellow curators, Jake Van Valkenburg, were talking about how we really wanted to do that as a Christmas present to ourselves.
Can you see me? Can you hear
We
me?
can see you and
Yes,
hear
I
you.
can
Yeah.
see you, Jonathan.
Thank God.
Yes.
I did that for a bit, actually. I was really being mysterious, but no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, it worked. The intrigue. So we were just talking about the show coming up on the 5th, and I was sharing about why I wanted to put BAUMS and Thalmus particularly on the same bill, but you both have this Jonathan, I don't know if you noticed, I would love to hear a little bit about Thalmus at this point, because I just have an abundance of curiosity. Because I've heard you talk about Thalmus on and off over the years. I've known you for quite a while now. I want to say we maybe met at 2017-18 era when I was at Creative Loafing.
All right.
Shepherds, I don't think you heard me say, is a very important Atlanta band in the books of many. So Thalmus is your solo project, which I think just those details alone get people excited. But can you tell us the origin story of it and what are you doing? Like, and how did you come with your current band members?
So Thalmus started, I mean, this is like a long ass time ago. I'm not gonna say how long. It's been a minute, but I wanted a name for like solo stuff I was doing beyond like the 20 billion bands I was in at the time, and I was watching a lot of Pam Grier blaxploitation movies at the time, like Sheba Baby and Foxy Brown and Coffee, stuff like that. And there's an actor in a lot of those movies. His name is Thalmus Rasulullah. I saw that name. I was like, that's a good ass name. Let me take it, basically. And I went as Thalmus Rasulullah for like a long time. And at some point, I was like, we gotta shorten this. We'll just be Thalmus. So basically, anytime I do something solo, it's just going out as Thalmus. And for the most part, that's just been like country music. Because the idea, especially at that time, of a Black person making country music seemed really interesting and provocative to me. And I have like a country record like in a vault, basically, that I need to release at some point. But I just decided kind of like, let's do something else.
Is it related to this, the Low Country album?
Because basically my plan originally was to put out like a couple like cover EPs. Like that record is like me covering the first side of David Bowie's Low in a country style. And it's basically the first time I record something on Ableton. I was gonna put out these country cover EPs as a prelude to the actual country record, which I recorded with Graham Tavel. But I get distracted. I got a lot going on. Life is complex. It's crazy.
Can I play like just a little bit for us to hear?
Sure, yeah.
I kind of want to hear Sound and Vision. How do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, please do. Yeah.
I'm just gonna play a little bit of it so we can hear it. Wow, that's awesome. I don't think I realized that you did that. I remember Big Star Mafia, which has also been discussed on this show.
That's such a fun concept too. And I feel like covering in any way something of an artist, especially someone who's like David Bowie, I feel like it's natural to be kind of nervous about doing it, to being like, this is David Bowie. Like if I'm going to do something, like at least how I would feel, because I've done some covers that we've included in BAUMS sets before. I'm like, if I'm going to do this, like I feel like it can't just be me playing that person's song the way that it sounded on their record. Like some aspect of the way that I write songs needs to come through in this. And even then, like I feel like I'm avoiding doing this because I don't want to mess it up. So to be able to do it and execute it in a way that is really accessible and beautiful and like sounds reminiscent of the original song, but you can tell it's somebody else's style and it's good at the same time, is such a sweet balance to try to get right. And Age only played like a minute of it, but I I wish I could see it live. Like it would be so much fun.
Me too. Yeah, thank you, Seth. That's very kind words.
Of course.
Yeah. And the funniest thing about it is that I found out like after I did the record, like I just was searching up some David Bowie shit online, that he actually hated country music, so he probably would have hated this EP entirely. But
so you're like, so I'm extra making a country cover of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially that being like definitely not his most like commercially successful record, but the one that's been reevaluated as like the cool, innovative one, you know?
Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure Pitchfork voted like the best record of the 70s, like I don't know,
Yeah.
a long time ago. But yeah.
So did Thalmus kind of start as like, would you say more of like a passion project for you to do things that like you wouldn't be doing in like other bands you were playing in? Because like Shepherds was going on at this time and y'all were on like, a pretty serious trajectory. Like y'all were doing like really good work and making like really good music. Would you say
Yeah.
Thalmus was kind of like that kind of flip side of the coin that a lot of artists have, like that outlet that's like not part of, the democracy of a band, just for you to do whatever you want?
Kind of. Because it honestly started off purely as like, I'm going to make a country record and I'm going to make it with the idea of writing it as like a black man in America, and the provocative nature of that, where it's like, oh, like country is, ostensibly like a white, music genre, and just country songs about police brutality and bringing white girls to the cookout and the experience of like, I don't know, some white dude come up to you and just saying, "Hey, brother," that kind of stuff. So that was the main impetus of it. But as we got further along, or as I got further along into it, and especially after like quarantine, like 2020, it just became a vehicle for me to do like whatever I wanted to, just like complete freedom. I learned how to like record myself and like play drums and keyboard a little bit. So it was kind of like, oh, well, let me just fucking play whatever I want. I mean, the thing right now is that I have like probably 5 or 6 records just that are kind of like done, sitting on like a drive somewhere. They just need to get like mastered or like mixed a little bit. That's a byproduct of me being like, I have this tremendous amount of freedom and know what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna make whatever. I mean, there's a country record, there's an R&B record, there's like a noise rock record. It's just like, it's all kinds of shit.
Yeah, and you have like a couple of people that you've been playing with to bring it all to the stage. Like you played at Mainline Music Fest at Thinking Man, which like blew me away. Because I've heard you talk about Thalmus, and I knew that there was a country element, and I just want to play. So, and like I feel like what it's evolved into is not what I remember you talking to me about years ago, like before the pandemic. So I really want to learn more about like how we went from that to this. And I would like to just play like you put out a song, Rain and Soul, I believe in July of this year. Also, I really love the lyrics. From a lacerated sky, bleeding its horror, creating my structure. Now I shall reign in blood.
So I'll say that that song, it's kind of a cover. Well, the lyrics are from Rain and Blood by Slayer.
Oh, wow. Crazy.
And I basically took the Slayer song and turned it into like this kind of like funky pop song. Well, you can play it in here.
Yeah, I would like to play. I'm going to skip just like a little bit ahead so we can maybe hear some like vocals and everything. So I remember you playing this at Thinking Man, and this was one of the highlights of the set for me, where I was like, this is really good. So here's that. Yeah, it's really good, Jonathan. I love this project, but I need to know so like we didn't catch up about it for like years. So when I
Yeah.
saw it, I was like, how did we go from like the like country covers to something that feels like so original, like to you? Like this just feels like Jonathan to me.
That
But
was
people who
the
don't
idea,
know you
yeah.
don't get that. So I just want to hear you put it in your own words if you can.
It was like, you know, the pandemic and quarantine was such a weird, like emotional and psychological experience. But at the same time was very fruitful for me artistically because it gave me a chance to sort of like really explore every possible idea I had musically, you know? And after like making like a bunch of records, I got to a point where I was like, I want to make something that like combines everything. That is like the platonic version of the kind of music that I should be making. Something that is like that has like a groove to it, like a blackness for lack of another word, you know. That's like they're definitely very soulful, but also like a little weird and like and guitar heavy, and also is like kind of funny and like somewhat controversial. Like because in some ways the idea is like let me make a soul song, and soul is like it's gospel music, it's secular gospel music, it's like religious music but just put into like um, I don't know, modern pop terms. Let me make a gospel song about the devil, that's and it's like just saying that out loud, it's like that's hilarious. Like yeah, let's do that. Let me take a secular song, make it into a gospel song, and that's what we'll do. So yeah, it was just like I this all the songs off the record that has that Raining Soul on are like in the same vein. It's like me doing something that definitely is the final version of like, okay, this is what my music is. This is the idea I have in mind for like the kind of stuff that I do. Yeah.
It's funny
Go
between
ahead, Adam.
Seth. Oh, what? Sorry.
I was gonna ask, when can we expect like an album to
Oh.
come out? Like when is more music gonna come out?
Next year, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's all like done. I just have to like figure out some logistical stuff in terms of like whether I want to put out myself or like get a label to do it. But like that, all that stuff is like mastered. There's like a record that's ready. I have a cover and all kinds of shit for it. So yeah.
So go ahead, Adam.
I was gonna say it's funny. It seems that Seth and Jonathan have these like the flip side to the same coin about covers. It seems like for Seth there's like this reverence aspect of it and kind of like a pressure to do right by the song, but for Jonathan there's like a lot of irreverence and like having freedom and like, well, my perspective is about covers is often like, well, I already know the song's good, so I can turn off that part of my brain that gets worried with my own work that it's not good enough. It's like, I know the song's good, now I can kind of do whatever. I think that's really funny and kind of lends itself to the differences that y'all have as songwriters in your own work. There's so much playfulness in Thalmus, and there's so much like structure in BAUMS.
Yeah, I'll say that like with covers in particular, it's the task for me is like I want to make, whether it's a cover actually or an original song, what I make is with how it's going to be perceived in a live setting in mind 100% of the time. So with respect to a cover, I'm thinking like in addition to all the aspects we talked about, if I'm going to make a cover of something, I feel like it had better be worth the person's time who's listening to it. And I think just reflecting on my own experience, specifically of a battle of the bands that I went to and that my friends performed in. They did original songs. There was a band they competed against that just did cover songs, except it was playing whatever the original song was the exact same way. They changed nothing about it. And that band won. And it was just really annoying for me. And so that kind of stays in my mind a little bit when thinking about covers, where I'm like, I don't want the song to start off with someone necessarily being able to be like, oh, this is Closer by 9 Inch Nails, and just waiting until the lyrics come in and you're like, oh shit, I did not see that coming. so long as there's that element of it for some piece of it, then like I've done my job as the person who is on stage and being given the attention of people who are in the room. But it's tricky and fun to find like the way to go about doing it in a way where it's like, yeah, but now it sounds like a BAUMS song, while retaining enough of the original to where people can tell what it's a cover of. So it's a lot of fun. I'll definitely do more in the future, but that is not the priority at the moment because there's just a gigantic backlog of songs to teach to the band, and they're not very easy. So.
When you
BAUMS,
mentioned the Battle of the Bands, Seth, I got like flashbacks of like playing at a Battle of the Bands when I was like a teenager, and we got beat by like essentially like a Korn cover band. So I feel you like 100%.
Damn.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
Yeah. Wow.
BAUMS covering Nine Inch Nails would be insane. I would be so
Ooh.
curious.
They did do
we
it.
covered
Yeah.
we covered
You did?
Closer
I had a
in
feeling this happened because
February.
that was so specific, but that
Yes,
happened.
we played a cover of Closer back in February at the Earl with CDSM, and at the last show we played at the Earl in November, we did a cover of Grid by Perfume Genius, and
Oh fuck yes.
changed some things
I heard
about that
about the
one as
Perfume
well. Yeah,
Genius cover. Yeah, I heard about the Perfume Genius cover.
it was a lot of fun because I've loved that song for like over a decade, and sort of the beginnings of it came to mind one day out of nowhere, and I was like, I have to try this out, and if it feels good enough to me in the end, then I will share it with the band, like, hey guys, this is what we're learning next. So
Yeah, one thing that I find like so cool and interesting about BAUMS after just getting to know you more and talking about it is that you all like you teach. So your band is how many people?
5 was the core members.
It's 5. You have core members, and then you like send them all the parts. Like you all don't rehearse a ton, like in person.
Right.
And even
And
sometimes just jumping on stage without getting like a full band rehearsal in first, but you guys are still so like well structured and tight. It's like really incredible, like knowing that especially.
Yeah, so like I didn't realize it until after the show that we just played this month that when we were on stage playing that cover of Grid, that was the first time we had played it together as a band. Everybody had learned it remotely, and just when you're trying to get 5 people's schedules to line up when all of us have a ton of shit going on, there are points where before a show, like maybe the most that can happen is 3 out of the 5 of us can meet up to go over some things, and the other 2 are working on their things remotely, and then whatever happens when we get on stage happens. But like for Grid, we hadn't played that as a full band until we were on stage, and I guess it went well enough that like I didn't think about it when I was up there. It was someone mentioned it to me after the fact, like who's in the band, and I was like retroactively scared because I was like, had I realized that, I would have been like, wait, can we do like a day of practice or something to like play it once? But it ended up working out, so it was fun. I would do it again.
And y'all are both in situations where you're at the helm of these bands, correct? Like kind of bringing this to other people. How obviously we just heard that y'all are flying by the seat of your pants in BAUMS. That's a shocking revelation to hear. But what does that look like for you, Jonathan? Now that you've included more people in on what has, seems to have been a very like intimate, solitary project for you.
It's been really awesome with the new band. It's Sarah Bowling, who is, oh my god, she's an amazing bass player and vocalist, and this guy Max Boydston, who is in, what was the band Max was in?
I don't know, but Max is an insanely good drummer.
Yeah, he's just talented, everything, guitar, bass, drums. Yeah.
When we set this up, I sent Seth the live recording from Thinking Man from your performance. Yeah. And in the recording, you can hear me in between songs going, holy shit. And then like, there's like one specific comment where like Damon Moon was like doing the mixing that night. So I was like in the mixing booth with him and just like, I was like, that snare is fucking going off. Like that snare is hitting. But I was really impressed. And then Sarah, some might know her from Icky Blossoms, which was like one of the bigger, like well-known projects she was in. Extremely talented bassist and vocalist for sure. So anyway, yeah, I don't remember what other bands Max has been in, but I know he's also multi-talented. Like he's not just a drummer or a percussionist. He does like other things too. But yeah.
Yeah, he's like professionally like a woodworker. Like he makes cabinets and things like that. He's I mean, just an all around incredibly talented human being. But so with this iteration of it, I basically send them the songs and then we get together and like whatever interpretations they have of the parts drumming and bass wise that I give them on those songs is like what we work with. And it's been really nice. Like not quite the same as Seth's situation where you guys like played the song for the first time on stage, but like literally like 2 days before the show at Thinking Man in September, I sent them a demo for a song and they like figured out like that. And we played it like 2 days later. It was like amazing. Like one of the first times I've done that, you know. And I had written the song like maybe a couple days before I finished the demo, so it was like just immediate. And it's an amazing experience just being able to like very quickly like put something together like that and works out, you know.
And BAUMS, otherwise known as BAUMS, y'all also have some stuff going on. Want to toggle over to talk about the EP that is officially coming out tomorrow, but Christmas came a bit early on Bandcamp, so we have it here, and I would like to play a minute or two of My Kind, which is the amazing 10-minute track that
I was just listening to this. It's so fucking good.
It's so good, and it earns its length. Like it doesn't feel like a ton. I'm not like, oh brother, it's like a 10-minute track. You know, it's like really phenomenal. I also was listening to it earlier, and I want to play this and then talk a little bit about it, and also specifically about the difference between the recordings and the live show. But here is My Kind by BAUMS on their EP that's out on Monday. Seth, it's incredible.
Thank you.
That drum beat, like in the end where it's like just the drum, that drum beat is so interesting. And I want to hear from others. But your voice is also, I love your voice. It like reminds me of Paul Banks from Interpol in a way without sounding exactly like him, but it gives me like a similar feeling that like his voice does. And just very good. I'm curious to hear like Jonathan and Autumn, what they think about the sound.
Like I remember I think Autumn said something about Seth having this degree of structure in his music. And it's like, everything feels incredibly tight and precise and structured, but there's still this humanity and this energy and this like, you know, this vibe to it that still gives it a certain degree of like the oomph, you know. Like a lot of times when people play stuff that's like very tight and structured or precisely played, it feels very robotic and mechanical. But there's just this there's a there's a pureness to it. There's a humanity to it that's like this that hits me. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
that hits on this really great aspect of BAUMS, which is like it has so much passion in it without being just like laborious to listen to,
Yeah.
which I'm famously at this point, I will say a kind of inflammatory comment to people, and I'll be like, songs don't need to be more than 2.5 minutes long. Fight me on it. Which I don't fully mean, but I remember the first time I saw BAUMS last year, at the very end of last year. I think that whole set, maybe only 4 songs actually were played. And I just, the entire room was so just captivated by the performance. And I was like, I cannot believe this audience is sitting here for these long ass songs and they don't care, because like Asia said, they really earn their length. Um they're so interesting, and there's so much passion in them that it doesn't feel taxing like it can often feel with really technical long songs. And I think that's just such a special thing that's happening here in your songwriting.
Well, thank you. I must say that the majority of BAUMS's existence has been before we ever started playing shows, which means that there was a really long period of a couple of years where I had the vision in mind of having songs that will be compelling in a live setting and to be captivating, because I'm putting, like I mentioned before, I'm putting myself in the position of standing in the room at the Earl and thinking what would have to be coming out of the speakers right now to have me lock onto the stage and not look at my phone or something like that. And so for that to be and that was an idea that came to mind, I think, when I showed up to see Omni at some point in like 2017 or 18. It just was in between sets. And so like that same point in time has informed so many decisions I made in songwriting. So for that to be something I follow for years and years, and being like, well, one day we'll play a show. We don't really exist yet, but like telling people that I'm technically in a band, and then it finally happens, and then without asking people, do you think that the music was like compelling or captivating or whatever, for those comments to organically come up at like every show that we played, especially from new people every time, is like it's really surreal, because I'm like, okay, I know that like doing that was kind of my North Star this whole time, and whatever music has come out of that, then cool, whatever. But to do it and then have it turn out that people feel this way is like, okay, that is really weird. I didn't expect like it to work, you know, and especially with the length of some of the songs. I try to have them be engaging from start to finish. So for it to work out in a live setting is just it's a really cool feeling, and it has helped to be made possible by having some extremely talented musicians in the band to learn these parts, because they majority of the time it is not easy to learn. There's a lot of, especially with the strings section, there's a lot of things having to play at the right time in the right place so that they can overlap in a certain way, and then same with the percussion. So there's a lot of precision there, and you add that to a song being an average of 6 minutes long, then it's not an easy thing for me to just send them a song and be like, okay, no direction from me whatsoever. There's a lot of time that goes into it, so that is the true magic, I think. behind the experience that you talked about, Autumn, is having some incredibly talented friends as musicians in the band to make it something that's living.
If someone sent me a 9-minute song, they said, learn this and we'll just play it on stage, I would never talk to you again, Seth. That's amazing. That's amazing that you have friends.
She would
who
be
are so
like,
gifted.
she would be like, first of all, no song needs to be longer than 2.5 minutes.
She'd be like, I'm not
But-
opening this file, but happy for you though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm not
or
reading
I'm
all that,
sorry.
but-
Or I'm sorry that happened, whichever one.
TLD though.
Yeah.
Too long, didn't listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and going back to what Asia was asking about, I'd love to hear this from Seth and from Jonathan. Asia touched on vocal influences. I'd love to hear who y'all are looking at for vocals, because you both have these really striking vocal qualities.
I think for me, there are less people who are front of mind, and nowadays, in terms of who my vocal influences are, those were kind of cemented a few years ago, so I think of them less. But especially in college and immediately after, definitely Julian Casablancas from The Strokes, and to an extent, Alex Turner, but particularly with like lyric stylings and everything. But if I had to pick one main one, then it definitely would be Julian, as some people have noted before. But yeah, try not to make it too obvious.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I always, for how proggy your songs can be, I think, you know, similarly to how Asia pointed out, that like that early 2000s New York sound also kind of filters into it. And I'm like, where is that even coming from for me though? Because it's really not in the structure of the songs. But it's I definitely think it's coming through there, but I don't think you're ripping anybody off if that's your fear. I wouldn't have thought that at all.
Well, and I also just want to like note that Graham Tavel was the producer on this EP, right? He did it at Mirror Mirror Records.
Yeah, so he did the recording, engineering, all of that stuff.
He has come so far as a producer over the past like 5 or 6 years, but like he's been carrying like a significant portion of the backbone of the Atlanta DIY community. And he does a like really great job, especially when he's like in his fucking pocket. And it feels like he was really in his pocket with this, but like kind of like what Autumn was saying, I just wanted to share this thought about BAUMS or BAUMS or BAUMS. Like there's the level of precision for sure. Like it's meticulous and you can tell, but it's easy to listen to, which is not what I like get a lot of times with like, you know, like Autumn mentioned prog rock, like things that I could imagine being influences. Like it's kind of proggy, but like I don't really like dig on prog rock too much because I find it very like not super enjoyable to listen to. But BAUMS is like such an easy listen. The time goes by fast, and it's because like it's very enamoring and like captivating. Like I'm just like sat the whole time listening to it. And that is like just an incredible feat to turn off. And I'm curious like how involved you were in the mixing process with Graham. Was there a lot of back and forth, or did you have a clear vision, or was it more collaborative in the mixing?
Yeah, so when I go into the studio, I generally have a very clear vision of what I want. So aesthetically, how I want things to sound, how to be processed, what effects to have on things, how to have them panned. A lot of that comes from the time that I've spent in my room for the last decade, just working in Logic and trying all these things out myself so I can get better at that skill set. And so fortunately I can, because of that, be in the studio and be like, oh, this guitar like sounds terrible at 2K. Could we just like bring that down a little bit? Well, things like that. And so I basically, well, I'll tell Graham a lot of the decisions to make and he'll do it. But my favorite one is I am always asking for more reverb. And to the point where like after we've already added what feels like a lot of reverb, we'll be listening back through it again. And I'm like debating whether or not to tell him, can we add more? Because I don't want him to be like are you serious? And there was a point where I was like, you're gonna hate me, but like, can we just add a little bit more reverb to like this part? And there's a point where when we were mixing Criminal Night a few years ago, I asked him that, and he like sort of turned and like looked at me side eye and looked back. I'm like, I'm sorry, just please trust me. So outside of that, there Graham certainly does play a role in like helping me when I'm trying to figure out how we can get something to sound the way I want it to sound. He's like, we had this mic that was sitting over the kick drum, like we can just turn that on and maybe that will bring this part of the kit out a little bit better since it's sounding muddy, and we'll try that. And I'm like, yes, perfect. Like at the very, very end of My Kind, when the vocals come out, you'll hear the drums, the quality on them change, and it sounds like brighter in a way. And it's because at that point in time, he just changed which mics were feeding it. And it ended up, I just never would have thought about that as being an option, but he just was like, let's try this. And it sounded great and we kept it. So it's fun getting to work with him and have that kind of back and forth.
Yeah, the guitar tone sounded a lot like BAUMS, at least on the Rain and Soul single we listened to, like the really bright and kind of there's like this vibrancy to the guitar that like both of your sounds share. Jonathan, what are you doing who's like tracking and engineering and like mixing all your music? Are you doing that by yourself or are you working with some people?
I'm doing that by myself.
Right.
I got like.
Are you a Logic girly like Seth, or do you use something else?
I'm an Ableton girly. Yeah, straight up.
Okay. I can't decide. I haven't made a commitment yet, but Pro Tools was making me feel homicidal this morning, so I think I'm rolling out Pro Tools.
Well, you gotta lock that down and make a commitment, Asia. It's very important. Now, like
I tried out Ableton and just kind of like browsing around before I'm like, what do I want to use to do this stuff with? But anyway, so you like Ableton the most?
Yeah, I got like a cracked version of Ableton like during the pandemic and just like stuck with it ever since. And I got like try to learn as much about recording as possible. Like got some nice mics and like a higher quality interface with like a bunch of channels. There's a lot of like plugins that like mimic outboard gear really well, like lots of like compressors and shit like that just can make your shit sound amazing. And that's mainly just me just using stuff like plugins I've downloaded, and just a lot of just the general stuff that's on Ableton anyway, in terms of like compressors and like chorus and slapback to get the guitar sound I'm looking for.
Yeah, it sounds great. Love it. Autumn?
Jonathan, who are some of your like, I get, and this is also actually for both of you, who are your like points of reference mixing wise? Like, are there certain songs, artists, or records, or even just like a genre that is like, that's my point of reference I want people to be getting, or if I could have it sound like that would be amazing?
Wow, that's a very good question. I feel like for this Thalmus record, I was really harkening back to like golden age of hip hop stuff, in that like there's very clearly like a digital like high quality element at play in terms of like, I don't know, the production, but it's also like somebody sampling some old scratchy record, on like an old school MPC from like the 90s. And it's having like a degree of like roughness and that analog thing, but also like a clarity that's lent by, higher quality, like recording technology. Mm-hmm. Like lots of like boom bap stuff, like thinking like, I don't know, like early Wu-Tang, Mobb Deep, like stuff like Tribe Called Quest especially, like that, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Seth? Do you have anything like that?
I think for me, it varies, I think, from song to song sometimes, but I think a uniting one is The Strokes, once again, up there with Preoccupations, because both can have sections where there's a lot of strings that need to overlap with each other in a way that feels like it's supposed to be there, and you can hear every note as it's supposed to be heard, and it doesn't sound too jumbled up or anything like that. And similarly, as far as genre related influences for that, big band and swing. That has been a huge influence of mine going back to late high school. And my obsession with it put me on the course, I think, that I am on now, where I've written songs I've written because of, at that point in time when I was first finding it, one of the things that really blew my mind was that there would be bands on stage with tons of people all playing a bunch of different instruments. Granted, they had sections where these were just sax and this, but the crazy harmonies that they would have, it wasn't just like adding a major third onto things or like a perfect fifth. They got real weird with it, and it was so I had to know everything about it, and spent a lot of time working with that myself to try to find out how could I do that with guitars, because obviously guitars laid on top of each other can sound terrible. Like, if you've ever walked into Guitar Center, especially on opening day, and everyone has something plugged in, it can just be a cacophony, which has its place in music for sure. But it was a challenge for me to figure out, well, how could I make everything sit together really nicely if it's going to be a lot of guitars and then bass on top of that. We have three, and there's a point in I think in Color where toward the end there are four guitar parts that are happening, or My Kind, actually, toward the end there are technically four guitar parts. And so keeping in mind some big band recordings as well, and figuring out how they get everything to fit is partly, I guess, where things sit in the mix, which in this case it would have been where in the room they were recorded. But what I learned from that is also it's about the arrangement too. It's taking, this is the overall chord that needs to be playing, but these two notes are going to go to these over here. This note's going to be taken by this person, and that's how you can get things to fit. So then I see the Strokes do the same thing, or Preoccupations, and like all those forces combined for me to be like, okay, this is what I'm going to try to achieve when I get to parts that really need that kind of attention.
The Preoccupations reference, like, now that you say it, I hear it more. Yeah. And also like the Omni thing where you're saying like you were at an Omni show and something about that like stuck with you. And we've been like covering Omni for a long time and following them for like since pre-Omni days, what those guys were doing. And I can totally like hear that now, and it makes a lot of sense, like when you piece it all together like that. And yeah, there's y'all have like a bit of buzz for sure, and I don't know if you're aware of that, but like people around town are like consider BAUMS like their new favorite band in Atlanta, or like the best band they've seen all year. Like there's definitely like an echo around town around you guys, and that's really cool.
Well, I paid them all to say it, so
You pay good money for that. Yeah.
Steph, when is my check coming?
Yeah.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
That's how this whole interview is happening. Seth is bankrolling all of this.
Yes. BAUMS rules the world.
Exactly.
Seth, I was gonna say, because you mentioned Preoccupations, and it's funny. I've been listening to Women a lot lately, and that's something I thought of when I was listening to the EP. I mean, Women, Jesus, what an amazing band!
Like, Women and I go way back. I think, but the very bring it back to the talk about origins at the beginning of this. That really is part of the core of where BAUMS came from. There was a point in, especially coming right out of college, where my awareness of all the things that were happening in post-punk around 2016, that kind of thing, as well as finding things from years before that, like Women in like 2008, 2009, that kind of thing. But mixed with finding some really cool, interesting, and noisy things. Like, I hope that at least one of y'all remembers from in the 2010s in Atlanta, Hellier Ulysses was a project that had, exactly. Like,
I was just talking to somebody about Charles Hellier just a couple of days ago. That's so funny.
I never forget about Hellier Ulysses. At that point in time, I was so interested in finding things that were so angular and noisy, because I I would love to say that then to people when we'd have conversations about it, that I could show them the most harshest or weirdest, noisiest thing and be like, it's still playing by the same rules as a Madonna song is, or something like that. That was part of my journey as a songwriter, is finding all these extremely different types of music, things that people really like, things that most people would hate, for instance, and finding what unites them in terms of the way that they work. And so at that same point in time, yeah, being obsessed with preoccupations and learning their guitar style and how things fit over with each other, and especially Julian Casablancas's side project, The Voids. That one, their first album, was extremely influential on me. And then getting into Tame Impala, being like, okay, well, what if I took like these really, the way that Kevin Parker, we'll call him Kevin, can write these really sweet, beautiful pop melodies on like the bass or in vocal melodies, and hearing him talk about how he really was studying like Britney Spears, like pop music, to be able to get these kind of sensibilities. I was like, that's a great call. So I did the same thing with those artists and with Chaim, and the list goes on. And I think I could take 20 minutes to really talk about the influences of everything, but with that being a window into where I was at that point in time, I was like, I just want to get better at songwriting, so I need to write as much as I can, as often as I can, including if it meant being on my drive to work and I had a thought about, okay, wait, I actually don't want to do that in this verse. Then I'll make a note of it, and then I did something for the day. I was very adamant about doing something every day for a long time. So that forms the origins of it, I think, coupled with being a Jimmy John's driver for a few years, getting to listen to college radio while I was driving around. It's where I found things like Red Sea became very influential for me, and just the most obscure things, and including seeing this, like, in front of a neighborhood, there was like this brick wall that has like some kind of like sign on it saying like this is the name of the subdivision, basically. And it was like a silhouette of a tree in a circle, and it just looked really beautiful to me. And this was coming at the same point in time when I was trying to think of what name I wanted to have for this project, and I knew I loved the idea of something nature related just because it felt beautiful to me. And seeing the tree, my brain was like, oh wait, well, Baum is tree in German. Like, wait, that word sounds beautiful. I was like, if I make an S, put an S at the end and make it plural according to English rules, then like it'll be this word that kind of doesn't exist and it would sound beautiful. And I was like, I think I'm just gonna stick with that one. And all these years later, now it's BAUMS. So the trajectory has really been something else. So
we have
That's
the official
so beautiful.
pronunciation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I didn't know the background of the name. I had, but shout out trees.
Well, BAUMS sounds a lot better because I didn't like the idea of just Baum as like singular for like tree. So I was like, what would trees be? And it does not sound nearly as pretty in German. It's Bäume. So I was like, maybe not. So I was like, Baum with an S it is, and viola, as they say.
Pina.
That's so cool. Yeah, my cat has joined.
I love.
What do you have to say?
Preoccupations, also a big influence on Philip of Omni, because I've heard him talk about he cited that as so that's like really interesting. But I just love hearing about like what is like making y'all tick when it comes to like making your music. And like I feel so with a lot of artists, I feel like everyone's music is kind of like they're behind it is like a whole universe of like how you interpreted like a particular like cultural influence or album by someone else or lineage of like artists. And it's like a snapshot of like this pocket of human existence. And then you're interpreting that through your music. So it's really unique, even though we can cite all these different things around it. And y'all like similarly, yeah, I'm so excited for the show on the 5th. Like I've heard there's gonna be maybe an hour-long boom set. Which
Yes.
am I
We'll
allowed
have the
to say that?
opportunity
Was
to
that
play.
embargoed?
And that's gonna be one
no,
whole
that's
don't
song.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, just one
two.
song.
That
One.
the encore is 45 minutes.
1 minute.
But
One song is 2.5 minutes per autumn, and then the rest is just one long song.
Yeah.
We'll have the opportunity to finally play more than 4 or 5 songs, which is exciting because up until now, I think the longest set length we've been given has been about 35 minutes or so. So we will not have any 30-minute songs or anything like that. That is one of the things that separates art rock, which I would define BAUMS as, from prog, where art rock certainly can get into longer form songs to the extent that prog does, where it's like, okay, this one's 28 minutes and this one's 18, and I'll do that at some point for sure. But it is more so about challenging conventional structures and expressionism, and prog is known for being really, really long, but it also has this element of like musical virtuosity of everybody involved. Like everyone is just insane on their instrument, like to a degree where you're like, these are gods. Like when I think of Yes, or something like, just everybody is shredding at some point.
It doesn't
in that
have
song.
humanity. It doesn't have humanity.
It I can certainly see where you're coming from on that one, because it prog, of course, is a huge genre with so many different bands and songs and everything. And something that's kind of funny to me is that for those who've become familiar with songs that I've made, one might think that I'm this big like prog head, but for me it literally is just like Yes, like that band. Specifically, like I love all the stuff that they've done, but there's one album that changed the course of my life, of theirs, from prog period, which is Close to the Edge, this Green album. And so everything really stemmed from just that album. I found some other Yes ones after. I'm like, this is also fucking cool, but it's like, no, I'm not like very knowledgeable necessarily about all the prog that's out there. I'm just like, look, I have this one album I really like. Okay, leave me alone.
Seth, do you like King Crimson?
I respect them. There's some stuff of theirs that like, well, yeah, I found them in high school and was absolutely blown away.
That is so
for
funny.
Sure. And just as time has gone on, I just organically haven't had the same experience listening through some of their stuff, and felt the same way like when I've listened through Yes, just personal tastings. But like one of my bandmates, Jack, they recommend I listen to King Crimson stuff from the 80s, and I hadn't yet. And while none of it is necessarily anything that like I would play on my drive to work, listening to their album from start to finish is just incredible and beautiful. So like I absolutely still have like reverence for them and respect for them.
It's funny because I didn't really think about prog as a genre I would associate with BAUMS until we started talking about it during the course of this podcast. And when I thought about like the prog band that, after listening to you guys, hits me in my head most is King Crimson, just because of how like King Crimson, like especially on like Red or like Starless and Bible Black, is like this sort of epically like aggressive, almost like a post-punk band, honestly. Just in terms of like the guitar quality and the tones that they use and how angular everything is and how stuff like interlocks. But yeah, that's what hit me at least.
Okay, wait. I just want to bring something up real quick because you mentioned that Yes record, and you're talking about this one.
Gosh.
Correct?
My stomach just dropped. Yes, this is her.
Why?
No, like for positive reasons. I mean, it's like.
Okay, hear me out. Okay, go ahead. No, you go.
I was going to say like the reaction that my nervous system just elicited was looking at this record. I mean, it's, as far as my musical life, I mean, it's a moment of birth, truly. I hadn't ever like formally studied songwriting or even music theory up until the point that I found this in 2016, my last semester of college. And beginning of that year, I was like, I'm going to finally like go through this Idiot's Guide to Music Theory book and like practice these things so I can read notes and actually study songwriting, and found a lot of classes that were looking at like classical music, and I applied that to other types of music and just was blown away by so many different concepts like text painting, where you have the music itself sounding like what the lyrics are singing about. Like, who thinks of that kind of shit? Like, it opened up this whole new world to me, and I was obsessive in studying songwriting, specifically looking at like bands that I'd been listening to and like really analyzing their stuff. My room looked like a crazy person. I had like this wrapping paper for like gifts that I turned on the other side and put all over my walls in my room so I can just write out like diagramming these people's songs and like seeing how things worked and whatever. And so with that being the position that I was in, and then getting into my rock history class, my final semester of school, where like we went through different eras in rock music and you had to pick a record from this list and write about it. I was like, okay, well, I know that Yes is a prog band, but like the idea of listening to prog sounds so gross. I don't want a 30-minute long prog song from the 70s. It sounds gross, but this one is like early enough in the 70s that like maybe it hasn't gotten gross yet, which, you know, I'm 22 thinking these things, so give me a, you know, a break here. But so I played it from start to finish. I didn't do anything else. I didn't focus on anything else. And as I'm listening to the music, that itself is incredible, I'm seeing the different concepts in songwriting and composition, classical composition, being played out in front of me, and the way that they play with these different tools in songwriting. And then to introduce an idea and make you feel like it's being taken to some resolution, but then they cut it off and they recontextualize everything and take you to a new place. And all this journey happens at the very end. They finally bring you back to that thing that they didn't resolve at the beginning, but it's bigger and it's so much more beautiful. And like, I was brought to tears by the end of every song, and just like, I could truly go on. So with that in a nutshell, being like how I've thought about this record for the last 9 years. Yes, when it just gets brought up out of nowhere, it's like seeing a ghost. It just sucks. It sucks the life out of me. I think this, coupled with a record that I would recommend to anybody who's interested in it, that would really be classified a lot, along with a lot of other different genres I think people could attribute to it, but among others, art rock, is the first album by this band called Adult Jazz. That it's a spiritual experience. It's beautiful songwriting, very weird and interesting at points, but it's just it's levitating, some of their songs. And so that's where I think the length from some of these BAUMS songs come from, is trying to, with, even if it's one person in the room, that's fine, impart the same kind of experience on a listener that I had with this album, like I just described to you, where you can start off in one place, and then by the time you get to the final part of the song, there's been so much that has happened, and you're so whisked away that you barely even notice the time passing, and it's like, how has this been 15 minutes? And you just need like a moment to think about it after you've finished listening to the recording. I've had so many of those experiences, so I'm like, if I could provide that in a live setting for somebody, that's what I want to do with my life, basically. So granted, there are 4-minute long songs where like I try to do a really shortened version of it, but I think that's at the core of the vision for this project, I think, just in general. So I should have known that as soon as this album was brought up on screen, I was going to talk for 8 minutes, but that's just how it goes with that album. So
I just love that, like, this is a huge influence on you, and I pull it up and I'm like, oh, it's also like a 3-track release, you know, and the last song is kind of a similar timestamp to My Kind, which is the last track on yours, but your songs, the preceding two, are much shorter than what's here. But if I were to play like a snippet of this, like, which song? And I just want to hear some, because like I would love to hear knowing all of this and being like, oh, I see how this fits in the BAUMS universe.
Yes, I would say track one, Close to the Edge, I would go about 4 minutes in.
Okay. Also, shout out Sword 2. What was
Oh yes, hell
playing
yeah.
before.
Definitely.
I do have a playlist called Snare Going Crazy where it is just songs where the snare sounds insane. But Sword 2, I think everyone should go listen to that record. It is so good. So you said the first one,
Yes.
4 minutes in. Okay.
Yes. 40 minutes in should be approximate.
Let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna go 4 minutes.
I can barely hear it, but
Yeah,
I
there's
hope
no
that it's
sound
been a
for
good.
us. Can Asia hear us? I don't think she can.
Oh, can y'all not hear it?
No.
This happened last time.
It did.
Okay. I know why. It's because it was through an app, probably. But anyway, I can try something else.
It's okay.
But, well, I got to hear it and I saw it. I was like, that makes sense to me.
I've got Close to the Edge on vinyl, so it's a great record.
Hell yeah. Okay, well, before we jump off and conclude the episode, I would love to kind of end with a question for everyone. What is one local Atlanta artist you're really excited about right now, and one non-local artist that you're really excited about right now?
I'll say locally, Stunner. I'm really excited about Stunner. They just put out a record, I think, like a couple days ago.
Yes, they did. This was a big weekend in Atlanta.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff coming out. But we played with them at Thinking Man Tavern at Charity Festival Asia, and I just they describe themselves as yearncore, I believe. And I mean, I have a song, or Shepard has a song called "Perpetual Yearning." So anything that has yearning, I'm like, yes, give me more of that. Just beautiful, heavy, emotionally transcendent music. This is good shit.
Yes, I'm trying to find the record, but yeah, so I'll pull it up if I find it.
Yeah, I think they have at least a song on their Bandcamp for it from it.
I know it's one of those. There's multiple stunners. It's like a commonly used word, I guess. But anyway, Stunner is great. Shout out to Stunner for their EP that just came out. What about anyone like non-local to Atlanta that you're stoked on?
I'm not gonna say Geese because they got enough PR as it is.
They're getting so much. I haven't listened yet, to be honest.
I've been having so many conversations with people, and it just
someone literally texted me during this conversation asking if I've listened to Geese, and I was like, I have not listened to it yet.
It's good. I've got a lot of folks I know who are kind of like, but I get it. I get it. Non-locally, Water from Your Eyes. I didn't go see them at the Earl when they came, but that record, that's a great record. That's definitely a record where it feels like the thing I've noticed a lot about newer bands is that there's just been this new metal, renaissance or whatever. And I mean, I was in high school when new metal was big, and I hated that shit so much. Oh my god! But people are taking elements of that sound, this heaviness of the guitars, what have you, and they're putting it in context that makes sense and sounds amazing. And I feel like I hear that on that Water from Your Eyes record a little bit.
I'll have to take a deeper dive with them because I haven't really given them a full chance yet, but I've heard. I love their aesthetic though. Like all their photography, all their artwork, like I'm already really into that. Autumn, what about you?
Well, I was going to point out, I actually got to see, I've gotten to see Geese and Water from Your Eyes this year. Both were incredible. Same weekend that I saw Geese, I also saw This Is Lorelei, the project of one of the people in Water from Your Eyes. And yeah, those are records that have been big for me as well. I'm trying to think locally. I'm in the middle of doing my end of year list that I do every year for Mainline. So I'm like knee deep in everybody's music right now.
Everybody's shit. You're in
Yeah.
everyone's shit right now.
I really am. That's like kind of my thing that's driving me crazy right now. But I would say things from the list that I've been like I keep returning to. This is actually a new release, but the new Boy Cat. I really like the songs on that little record that just came out with Rope Bridge. And I really like Grebe, Grebe. Yeah, I got to see them a few months ago and just was really impressed with some of their songs. So yeah, those have been my like kind of surprise people recently of like, oh, I didn't know you before, and this is a really cool song. Otherwise, obviously, listening to Sword 2, listening to CDSM and Omni, and lots of releases that came out this year. And then non-locally, I don't know. I've been listening to all kinds of stuff. I have definitely been listening to Water from Your Eyes, and I don't know. I listened to a song by the band from Philly recently. I was super, super into that record last year, and that's kind of stayed in rotation every once in a while. I'll be like, let me pick those records back up again. Is a very, very cool band that really resonates with me.
Seth, what about you?
Well, for starters, I fortunately got to see open for Jessica Pratt last year at Terminal West, and it was amazing. I'd never heard of them before.
I was also there. Amazing show.
Oh
Wait,
my gosh.
who?
Okay. Jessica
Wait, who was
Pratt.
it?
Opening for
It's like
Jessica
the
Pratt.
symbol opening for Jessica Pratt. I feel like they planned that for like the rhyming potential.
I know.
So good for them. But do not get me started talking about Jessica Pratt. I'll start crying. But as far as local ones, I'm particularly excited about Strumbrush. I've seen them once, and they're I'll say that like anytime I go to a local show, which is many of them, I always love just seeing people up on the stage, part of this community who are just doing the thing. Like, and so to go beyond that a level and leave me feeling like, who the fuck was that? Is like such a fun experience. And so after seeing Strumbrush a couple of months ago, I was like, I want to play a show with them. Like, we need to meet somebody in this band so we can set it up. I just was blown away. Some additional locals. I'm always going to be excited about CDSM. I have loved them for many years. Saw 3 of the guys years back when they were in Material Girls. And another local that I am also always really excited about is Megan Dowland's solo project. It goes too fucking hard. Everyone in that room is dancing when she's playing her music. And then non-locals that I'm excited about, it was hard to think of one, but one that comes to mind that I have been excited about for a while is this band out of Belgium called Ultra Sun. It has 2 N's on it. They're this like really cool, like dark and danceable trio or duo. It's trio in a live setting. It's a whole other thing. But anyways, I saw them at 529 last October. That was their first time coming through Atlanta, and it is so fucking cool. It's like what like in a vampire club. Like, this is the shit that would be going so hard. It's just really cool. Yeah, Ultra Sun forever.
Yeah, definitely big shout out to CDSM. John Restivo, he plays on My Country record. I know he played on some BAUMS stuff too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, John said he's going to be at the show on the 5th.
Oh hell yes.
Yes, he'll be included in some of our songs. Yes, he'll be doing some percussion. But yes, big old shout out to John Restivo Jr. I truly could go on, but I mean, incredible musician, and the working with him on the songs I've worked with him on has like, I think, changed the direction of some of the music that I make for BAUMS, where like before I started working with them, I just wouldn't have thought to begin a song on my computer with, it usually starts with either drums or bass, but to throw in some like shakers and tambourine or whatever it is. And doing that has led me to make a couple of different songs where I was like, I don't know if I would have made a song with this kind of vibe had I not worked with him, and he just decided to add these to the songs that he worked on in the studio. So all that to say, the Atlanta music community is a really, really cool thing. It's just people knowing each other and like working on each other's songs and recordings and like inspiring each other. And then the person who was inspired by this artist is now up on stage playing music that they were inspired by them. And that person who inspired it is in the audience watching. And it's this really cool cycle that happens. And yeah, I'm very, after being a spectator for many, many years, very blessed to get to be a part of it, and to any time that I get to be on a bill with other locals, I always find something new and exciting. So that's how I found out about Trial Run. We played with them in December last year at our second show, and so I'm excited to get to share the bill with them again, and with Thalmus for the first time, and have that be the one that we close out the year with before we take a couple of months off to learn some new things. So
Oh,
That's awesome.
That's awesome. And you two
Yeah.
can also have John Restivo on your song, like everybody else in Atlanta too. And you can meet him at the show on December 5th and ask him to
come
play
meet
in your
him at
band
the
or on your
show.
song.
He'll probably
sorry.
say yes.
He'll probably gotta plug
Sweet guy.
John Restivo's services.
He'll tour manage.
Yeah, he'll
make
drive
some
you.
delicious pastries. I mean, he does it all, man. He kills it.
Yeah, the backbone of
Mhm.
the Atlanta scene.
truly.
Yeah, I got to see a CDSM play last night at Aisle 5. Seth was also there,
I was
and
very much in the front
yeah,
row, just
in
losing my
response,
mind. So
we were right next to each other in the front row, losing it like immediately as soon as they started. It was like I laughed and sent like a 7-minute long voice note to my friend and bandmate and mainline contributor Lindsay. I was just like, I just have to like talk to someone about like CDSM's performance for the most part. And there were like some other little anecdotes from the night, but mostly talking about them. And in response to my own question, like I think it's a toss-up for me between Sword 2 and CDSM. Like I'm equally excited for like both, and I have that buzz from just seeing CDSM like last night. And I remember telling you, Seth, I was like, I feel different after seeing that than like before I saw it. And I think for me it's because like, well, it had such a big impact on me because I haven't seen CDSM perform since they first started. So I've missed a lot of CDSM shows because, well, this year, funny enough, it was always when like I had a show going and it became this like inside joke of just like, wait, do we have beef? Because it was like 2 or 3 shows in a row where CDSM booked their show the same night that like Mainline had a show or like Posture Clinic had a show. And I was like, what's going on? So I've just been missing them. So it was just like, I don't even have a memory really of what I thought of when I saw them the first time, other than probably like, oh, that was good. It's, Material Girls, guys, plus some other people. But it was kind of like immemorable compared to last night where I was just completely like blown away, and they've come so far as a band and they sound so good together. Similarly with BAUMS, a lot of stuff going on, and it was on the verge of like overwhelming, but it was so enjoyable to watch. Like I couldn't walk away from it. Like there were moments where I was kind of like, this is really intense. I kind of need a fucking break, but like I couldn't leave because I was just so interested in like what was going to happen. I love how they like change instrument. They're always like changing around the stage. I love like the activity. Ben is insane. Just like on the stage, like his movement is like, I think and then John, speaking of John Restivo, he was just so in his element last night. Like, I've never seen him. I've seen him play in a lot of different projects, but like, and he's behind the kit a lot, but he started like CDSM got my attention like when I saw clips from shows I couldn't go to of John like rapping basically. And I was just like, I'm so interested in this. And then to see him performing and just really in his pocket and with the shakers and the macarinas and shit, tambo going hard, like all these different instrumentations working so well. Nothing is like an oversight or miss. It's all being used like very like effectively and robustly. And that was just like really incredible. So I'm super stoked about CDSM. And then Sword 2 is has also similarly like there's a lot of bands that came out in like 2018, 19 that are having a sweet spot kind of like in their fifth or sixth year of like existing. And I feel like Sword 2 and I kind of group CDSM with that if you consider Material Girls kind of the beginning, like the growth of what CDSM came out of. But the new Sword 2 record, Electric Hour, is fantastic, and I can't stop listening to it. So they're playing on March 1st at Aisle 5. And last thing I'll say is that Aisle 5, watching a show there is kind of a trip because the stage is very high compared to like the Earl where it's like you're kind of more like eye level. So it was really interesting to see the guys last night playing from that vantage point of like where I'm looking up at them because I hadn't experienced that either. It was really cool. So yeah, shout out CDSM. Shout out John.
Shout out local music.
Yeah,
go see a show.
There's a lot of good stuff happening in Atlanta. There's so much happening in Atlanta that is so good.
Oh wait, I should also shout out the drummer of Thalmus, Max. He also plays drums on the Sword 2 record. I think on a couple of songs.
Does he?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Max is awesome. He's also like a very nice person.
Yeah.
Which like he's like very genuine and down to earth, and he seems very grounded. Yes. That's how I feel about y'all. I love when nice people make amazing music. It's really cool. So.
And if you're nice, you'll make good music too. Yeah, that's one of the ingredients.
It's a lesson, kids.
Yeah,
you gotta be nice.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
you think to be a rock star, you have to be mean. You have to be nice.
Yeah, the times have changed. You don't have to be mean to make good music. It's more of a liability now, I think. But any parting words before we end the recording? Anything else y'all want to plug? The BAUMS EP is out. It'll be out by the time this is airing, so it's out now. Where can people find it?
A lot of different streaming platforms. They all have like a bunch of tiny little icons on DistroKid. So like, I don't know, there are like 30 of them, but most everywhere. Of the places where one could find it, yes, so it'll be there. That's the first EP that's being released under the BAUMS project. So it's exciting. Up until now, it's just been a couple of single songs to release, kind of clearing out the collection of songs that I've accumulated over the years to make room for the more recent things I've written that will hopefully be releasing next year. So this EP is the first, like, okay, here's some songs from between 2022 to 24, and be like, okay, now that these are officially released on a collection, then like we can now sort of have some breathing room for some new things. So the show that we're gonna play will have more than those 3 songs because those come out to like 20 minutes total. And we'll include just about every song that we have played live, original ones at least. And we're including 3 songs that will be on a forthcoming album. One of which we've played at some shows before, like Moonglow, some of y'all have heard. But one song from an album will be new for everybody there, and we'll have, I think, 8 of us on stage to make that happen at a point in the show.
Is it new to them too? The people on stage, is it new to them as well?
Technically, yeah. I mean, I just finished writing it in August, I think. So Oh, but you mean in the sense of like with the grid cover? No, this is like the last song in the discography where I could just be like, here's a new song, you have a week to learn it. It wouldn't, with as incredibly talented musicians as they are, this is not the song for that. So, but that can be a challenge for a later time and see if they stick around after I'm like, hey, so this is 20 minutes, very complex. We're playing on Saturday. So, yeah. But that's it. That's all for me. I hope we'll see some folks there.
Cool. You get, and then Jonathan's stuff is all on Bandcamp, correct?
Yes, all on Bandcamp.
Awesome.
Then whenever I release this record next year, it'll probably be on Bandcamp. Yeah, we'll see.
Amazing.
Everyone needs to. I was going to tell listeners to do themselves a favor and go look up Big Star Mafia, which we've talked about on the show before. But I love it's a mashup project of Big Star and 3-6 Mafia.
Yes,
enjoy.
Yes. You'll have a great time.
Hey, cool. Well, thank you so much for joining the show, and we'll see everyone on December 5th at Star Bar to see both these incredible bands plus Trial Run. And we also have the gift from Autumn James. Her end of the year list and roundup will be out very soon as well. Our annual tradition at Mainline. Thank you, Autumn, and looking forward to that. Okay.
Yay.
Yeah, shout out Autumn and Mainline. Thank you all so much for all, of course, for inviting us to this call and setting it up. But obviously, the work that you do and the influence that you have on the community and the people who make it up far transcends just promoting a show or the end of the year list. And so yeah, y'all are very beloved in this community, and so it really means a lot for us to be among the musicians who get to spend some time just, I know we're talking about the show and inspiration and stuff, but getting to know each other and just talk about things that we like, which is music and community. So all that to say, it really means a lot to have this opportunity to do this with y'all and to get to be part of a show that Mainline is putting on. So we're really excited for it. It'll be our first one, well, standalone show that isn't the music festival.
Thanks, Seth. Don't tell me I have influence. That'll go right to my head.
Well,
I'm gonna start saying that to people. Do you know who I am? I'm influential.
What's your job? I'm Autumn James.
You guys, I know Autumn James. Do you know Autumn James? I know Autumn James. Okay.
Yeah, say that at the door at any venue in town, and they'll ask you to still pay money.
We watched 24-Hour Party People the other night, and it's like Tony Wilson started Factory Records and whatever. And there's a line where someone goes like, "And what's your job?" And he goes, "I'm Tony Wilson." And I'm like, Autumn is our Tony Wilson. I'm in my
Hell yeah.
That's maybe
very influential and important.
She's like, stop.
There was another line where he was like, "And I talked to God and you didn't."
Yeah, I highly recommend. That was a really good movie.
That's a really interesting watch. Yeah, it was so good. All right, cool. We're gonna end this recording. See y'all next time on the show.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Did it work?